The young woman's name was Clarissa Angeline, a beautiful and intelligent girl from a wealthy Christian family. Clarissa grew up in a big city, where glamorous living and luxury were the norm. Her father was a successful businessman who owned several large companies, while her mother was a socialite who was always seen at elite events. Since childhood, Clarissa had been taught to maintain her family's image and dignity, as well as to uphold the strong Christian faith passed down from her ancestors. Although her life was filled with abundance, Clarissa often felt that something was missing. She felt that the world of luxury didn't provide true inner satisfaction. Throughout her life, she continued to search for a deeper meaning, although often hindered by the distractions of worldly matters. One day, while attending a charity event hosted by a family friend, Clarissa met a young man named Halim. Halim was a simple yet very handsome Muslim youth, with a deep and calm demeanor. He worked in the social field and was often involved in charitable activities aimed at helping the less fortunate. Despite coming from a modest family, Halim possessed exceptional intelligence and determination. He always appeared calm and confident, with a strong conviction in his faith. Clarissa found herself drawn to Halim, not only because of his appearance, but more because of the depth of his speech and his personality, which was simple yet full of wisdom. They began conversing, and Clarissa felt at ease, as if there was an extraordinary connection between them. The more they talked, the more Clarissa was attracted to the values Halim embraced, particularly his views on faith and the simplicity he lived by. Halim patiently explained Islam to her, speaking of the one true God, and of a way of life filled with love and peace. However, Clarissa did not easily accept these teachings. Although her heart began to stir, she was still bound to the Christian teachings she had grown up with. Clarissa wondered, how can two such different religions bring about the same peace? And amidst her confusion, she realized that her feelings for Halim were growing into something more than just a simple fondness. For months, they continued to communicate and get to know each other more deeply. Clarissa often asked about Islam, and Halim always responded with patience and kindness. He never imposed his beliefs but always showed her the path of peace and truth. The more Clarissa understood, the more she felt a sense of tranquility in her heart. However, the greatest challenge came when she realized she had to make a major decision in her life. One evening, after returning from a charity event attended by Halim, Clarissa sat alone on the balcony of her luxurious apartment. She reflected deeply, thinking about everything that had happened. She loved Halim sincerely, but she knew that to be with him, she would have to change her life completely. She understood that this was not just about love, but about a profound journey of faith. Clarissa felt confused and anxious. Am I strong enough to take this step? She thought. She feared her family's reaction. Her parents would surely be disappointed and angry if they found out that she wanted to embrace a different religion. Yet, her inner voice told her that this was the path she must take if she wished to find true peace. After days of reflection, Clarissa finally decided to meet with a wise Islamic scholar. In their meeting, the scholar lovingly explained the teachings of Islam, about the love and peace embedded in every part of it. Islam was not just a religion, but a way of life. In Islam, love for God is everything, and that love brings peace within, the scholar gently said. Those words made Clarissa more certain. She felt as though God was speaking directly to her. In her heart, she knew that this step was the right decision, even if it meant leaving behind much of what she had known throughout her life. On a bright morning, with a heart full of conviction, Clarissa faced Halim and said, I want to embrace Islam. Halim was shocked, but then a genuine smile appeared on his face. He knew that this journey would not be easy, but he also knew that this decision came from a sincere heart. Halim took Clarissa to the mosque to recite the Shahada, declaring that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is his messenger. After embracing Islam, Clarissa's life changed drastically. She felt as though she had found a greater purpose in life, far beyond all the worldly luxuries she had previously pursued. However, the path was not always smooth. Clarissa had to face challenges from her family. Her father and mother were furious when they found out about her decision to become a Muslim. They felt that their daughter had abandoned the teachings that had been passed down through generations. Despite this, Clarissa remained firm in her faith. She continued to show her family that this decision was not a betrayal, but rather a profound spiritual journey. Patiently, she tried to explain to them that religion was about peace and love, not just rituals or dogmas. As time passed, and although Clarissa's family did not immediately accept her decision, they eventually saw positive changes in her. Clarissa became more patient, more loving, and calmer. She was no longer burdened by worldly achievements but focused more on becoming a better person. Clarissa and Halim eventually married in a joyful ceremony. Their life together became a reflection of true love, a love based not just on feelings, but on a strong foundation of faith. They worked together on various social projects to help others, committed to always nurturing and strengthening their faith. Clarissa finally understood that religion was not just about what she believed, but about how she lived in love and peace. Her love for Halim led her to discover her love for Allah, and from there, she found true happiness. The marriage between Clarissa and Halim brought them into a new chapter of life, full of hope and challenges. Although Clarissa felt at peace with her decision, she knew that the process of adapting wouldn't be easy, both for herself and for the people around her. After getting married, Clarissa and Halim decided to live in a small, modest house on the outskirts of town. They wanted to start a new life that focused more on inner peace and goodness. Halim, though from a simple family, never felt lacking, as he always felt content with what he had. Clarissa also learned to appreciate the simplicity of life with Halim. However, even though Clarissa's heart felt at ease, the outside world didn't always readily accept the major changes in her life. Some of her old friends began to distance themselves, and her family, though somewhat accepting, still felt disappointed with the big decision she had made. Every time they met, there was an awkwardness that couldn't be hidden, and Clarissa often felt the pressure to explain her decision. One day, Clarissa received an emotional call from her mother. "Clarissa, you know that we've always wanted what's best for you. Why did you have to choose this difficult path? Why did you have to leave our family's teachings? You could live happily without making a decision like this," her mother said with a voice full of sadness. Clarissa held back the tears that almost escaped. She knew her mother wouldn't fully understand, but she also knew she had to remain firm. With patience and love, Clarissa explained that she wasn't leaving her family, but rather searching for a deeper peace, which she had found through her spiritual journey with Halim. "I don't want any conflict, Mom. I just want to live with a faith that brings peace to my heart," Clarissa said softly. Although her mother still disagreed, Clarissa felt a little relieved because she had spoken from the heart. She knew that this was a long journey, and she had to give her family time to accept her changes. On the other hand, life with Halim made Clarissa feel even closer to God. Every day, they both performed prayers together, prayed, and reflected on life. Halim was very patient and loving in guiding Clarissa, helping her understand Islamic teachings more deeply. They were also active in social activities, helping orphan children and families in need. Clarissa began to feel a happiness that couldn't be bought with money or luxury. Their life was simple but filled with blessings. However, this didn't mean their life was without trials. One day, Halim was diagnosed with a serious illness. Clarissa, who had just started to enjoy her new life, felt like her whole world was falling apart. She felt anxious and afraid of losing Halim, the man who had brought so much happiness into her life. In the midst of this difficulty, Clarissa reflected again. She remembered the words of a scholar she had once met. "Blessings in life don't only come from happiness, but also from resilience in facing life's tests." Clarissa realized that this was the time to delve deeper into her faith and strengthen her heart. Throughout Halim's treatment, Clarissa never left his side. She cared for him with love. Every night, they both prayed together, asking for healing and strength from Allah. Clarissa felt even closer to God, finding peace in every prayer she uttered, and experiencing the tranquility that could only be found in strong faith. After several months of treatment and with an unwavering spirit, Halim finally recovered. The miracle made both of them even more convinced that Allah was always with them, providing guidance and strength in times of difficulty. Clarissa and Halim's life returned to normal after that long struggle. They became more mature, more resilient, and loved each other even more. Halim's recovery was an invaluable blessing, and they once again felt happiness in their simple life. They continued their social projects, benefiting many people, and sharing their happiness with others. Clarissa felt that her life now had a deeper meaning. She was no longer just seeking happiness for herself, but also striving to make the world around her a better place. Love and faith had transformed her. She felt fortunate to have found a path filled with peace and affection with Halim. Their relationship grew stronger, and although challenges still existed, Clarissa knew that they would always be together, supporting each other, and continuing to walk in the light of faith. The decision to embrace Islam and marry Halim was not an easy one, but it was a decision that brought true peace and happiness into her life. Eventually, Clarissa understood that this journey was a blessing. Her love for Halim brought her closer to God, and from that love, she found true peace. Now, Clarissa lives with renewed hope, believing that every step taken with Halim is a step toward eternal happiness. After Halim's recovery, Clarissa and Halim's life grew deeper, filled with learning and happiness that no longer depended on material luxuries. They both realized that in their journey through life, full of trials, there were many blessings that came in the form of inner strength, resilience, and an ever-deepening love. However, despite feeling happier, new challenges began to arise from the outside world. Clarissa's decision to embrace Islam and marry Halim remained a topic of discussion among her family and friends. Some of Clarissa's old friends started to distance themselves, some ridiculed her, while others questioned her life choices. Yet, Clarissa no longer felt fragile. She knew that the spiritual journey she had chosen was a step she had thoughtfully considered, and she would not turn back. One afternoon, Clarissa received an invitation from her family to attend a family gathering. At first, she hesitated about whether to go. She knew the conversation would be difficult and filled with tension. Her parents still couldn't fully accept her life decision, especially because many family values they had held for so long were being challenged. However, Halim patiently said, "Believe in yourself, dear. This is your time to show that your belief is not just about differences, but about the peace we bring together." With stronger determination, Clarissa decided to go. At her parents' house, the atmosphere felt awkward. Her father, who had always been the dominant figure, eventually started the conversation. "Clarissa, you are our child, and we love you. But we don't understand why you chose a different path. Why isn't our religion enough for you?" her father asked with a concerned voice. Clarissa looked at her parents with deep respect. She knew this was an important moment to show the depth of her faith. "Father, Mother, I didn't choose this path to hurt you. Islam is not just a religion to me. It is a way of life that gives me the peace I have been searching for. Halim is not only my husband but also my teacher in matters of faith. I know this is difficult, but I want you to know that I am happy with this choice. This is not about leaving you, but about seeking peace with God." Clarissa's mother, who had always been more emotional, finally looked at her daughter with tears in her eyes. "We just want you to be happy, dear. We don't know what to say." Clarissa reached for her mother's hand. "I know, Mother. I don't want to hurt you. But what I feel now is happiness that comes from within my heart. A happiness greater than anything the world can give." The meeting was emotional, but Clarissa felt relieved to speak honestly. While her parents had not fully accepted it, they began to understand that Clarissa's decision was not solely about love for Halim but also about a deep spiritual quest. They did not immediately accept Islam, but they began to learn to respect Clarissa's choice more. Time passed, and life with Halim grew stronger. Clarissa and Halim continued to live a simple life yet full of blessings. They became more active in social activities and continuously strived to benefit others. Clarissa felt that true happiness did not come from having, but from giving. She and Halim decided to establish a foundation focused on empowering women and underprivileged children. In doing so, they could make a real contribution to society while also teaching the values of love and compassion they had learned through Islam. Although Clarissa's family was still in the process of fully accepting her life choices, they slowly began to see positive changes in her. Clarissa became a wiser person, more patient, and more focused on peace in every aspect of her life. She often received messages from her mother filled with words of understanding, though not always easily. "We see you as more peaceful, stronger. We are proud of you, even though we don't fully understand," her mother wrote in a letter. Their simple yet meaningful marriage became an example to many. They taught that love is not only about two people who love each other, but also about how they support each other to grow in faith and goodness. Clarissa felt that through Halim, she had found a way to live more sincerely and meaningfully. They also began teaching the children they helped about the importance of appreciating differences and living together in peace. Clarissa felt that everyone, regardless of their religious or cultural background, had the right to find peace in their lives. Halim always reminded Clarissa that in Islam, everyone has the right to choose their own path in life, and that differences are part of the beauty of God's creation. A few years later, Clarissa and Halim were blessed with a son, whom they named Yusuf. Yusuf's presence brought immeasurable joy to both of them. They raised Yusuf with love and strong faith, teaching the values they truly believed in with sincerity. Clarissa grew even more certain that the path she had chosen was the right one, the one that brought her peace and true happiness. Their lives were now filled with peace that did not depend on material wealth, but on their relationship with God, with each other, and with the community around them. Every day, they lived with deep gratitude for all the blessings they had received. Though there were many things to face, both personal challenges and challenges in society, Clarissa and Halim knew that they were never alone. They continued to walk together, in love filled with faith and hope, proving that their journey in life was a gift that could not be measured by anything. And with every step, they knew they had found true happiness, happiness that came from a simple life, full of love and blessings. Although their lives were relatively peaceful, each day brought new challenges that tested their resolve. Clarissa and Halim had been married for several years, and they were becoming more confident in their life choices. However, life in the real world was not always as beautiful as expected. When they welcomed the birth of their first son, Yusuf, their happiness became even more complete. However, not everyone around them saw this change in the same way. Clarissa's father, who was still trying to accept the big changes in his daughter's life, began to feel anxious. Although they had come to terms with Clarissa's decision, he still felt that the world they knew had changed too quickly. Meanwhile, her mother became more open, though deep down, she still hoped that one day Clarissa would return to her original religion. Clarissa often found herself caught in a dilemma. On one hand, she wanted to maintain a good relationship with her family, especially her parents who had raised her with love. On the other hand, she felt that her spiritual journey was on the right path, and she did not want to lose a part of herself just to please others. Halim had always been her loyal supporter, encouraging her when she felt confused. One day, Clarissa decided to have a deeper conversation with her father. She knew that this conversation might be challenging, but she wanted to make sure that her family understood how much respect and love she had for them, even though she had chosen a different path. "Papa, I know this is difficult to accept," Clarissa began, her voice calm and confident. "But I want you to know that this is a decision I've thought about carefully. I'm not leaving what we have as a family. I'm simply choosing to follow a path that brings peace and tranquility to my soul." Her father was silent for a moment. His face showed deep concern. "Clarissa, we don't want to lose you. We can't imagine this world without you in it like before. Our religion is enough to give meaning to this life." Clarissa took her father's hand, which was now slightly more relaxed, though his expression was still full of questions. "Papa, I'm not leaving you. I'm not changing who I am. What I'm doing is finding a way of life that makes me feel closer to God. The one God. I'm not changing my love for you. I want you to be proud of me, not because I've chosen this religion, but because I've chosen to live with the peace and love I found in Islam." Upon hearing those words, her father fell silent. He couldn't immediately accept it, but he felt that Clarissa's words came from a sincere heart. They sat together in silence, and Clarissa knew that her father needed time. It was a small step toward understanding, even though there was still much ground to cover. Clarissa and Halim decided to focus more on their mission to help the community. They not only worked in their social foundation, but also developed character-based and spiritual education that they believed could help others find the peace they had experienced. Their foundation grew, and Clarissa was often invited to speak at various social and religious forums. On each occasion, she shared about her spiritual journey, how she found peace amid differences, and how she learned to accept the reality that this world is full of differences that should be understood and respected. However, living in a society full of diverse views and cultures made their journey not always smooth. Many people did not fully accept Clarissa's decision. Some old friends even began to turn away, considering her changed into someone they no longer recognized. Clarissa felt hurt when she heard rumors circulating around them, especially concerning her decision to embrace Islam. However, Halim was always there to support her. "My dear, not everyone can understand our journey. They may not have reached the same point yet. But we can't let other people's views change who we are. We have chosen this path with full conviction," Halim said one night as they sat together after dinner. Clarissa reflected deeply, thinking about what Halim had said. She knew that this journey of life was not just about seeking personal happiness, but about making a positive impact on others. Not everyone would easily accept it, and that was not something she could control. What she could do was remain true to her principles and show the world that the religion she chose brought true peace and happiness. Their lives became increasingly filled with activities that touched many people. They helped poor families, provided education to underprivileged children, and offered skills training to young women so they could become independent. Halim and Clarissa believed that true wealth was not found in money, but in how one gives and contributes to the world. Blessings, for them, came from giving and helping others without expecting anything in return. One day, Clarissa became involved in a large project aimed at improving access to education in remote areas. This project required a lot of time, effort, and even funding, but Clarissa felt that this was a great mission that needed to be carried out. Along the way, she began to feel an increasing burden. She started feeling pressured by the many tasks she had to complete and the constantly rising expectations. Halim noticed the exhaustion on his wife's face. "Clarissa, you're not alone. Remember, we're working for a bigger purpose. But you also need to take care of yourself. Don't let yourself get overwhelmed. I'll always be here to help." Clarissa felt relieved hearing Halim's words. She learned to ask for help, both from Halim and from those around them. They shared tasks and supported each other, and that led them to the success of the project, which ultimately changed the lives of many people. The blessings they felt came not only from the results of their work, but also from the relationships they built with others, from the love they gave to people. Years passed, and Clarissa grew closer to her parents. Though their relationship was still not fully as it once was, there were signs of healing. Clarissa's mother, who had initially been strongly opposed, eventually began to acknowledge that her daughter had found happiness in the path she had chosen. She started to see positive changes in Clarissa and Halim, and although she still often hoped her daughter would return to her original religion, she no longer felt distant from her. One day, Clarissa's mother invited them to dinner at her house. "Clarissa, I don't know how to say this, but I'm proud of you. You've become a loving and strong woman, and I can see how happy you are. Even though I don't fully understand, I want you to know that I accept your choice. You are a good daughter." Clarissa felt the heavy heart she had carried for years begin to ease. She cried with emotion. "Mom, I'm so grateful for your support. I couldn't ask for more. I've never left you, and I hope we can continue walking together, even though our paths are different." That was the moment they had been waiting for. The healing of the relationship between Clarissa and her family progressed slowly but surely. Though not perfect, they could now communicate more openly and accept each other. In the final days of this story, Clarissa and Halim felt increasingly closer to God. They knew that this journey was not just about finding peace for themselves, but about bringing peace to the world. Yusuf, their son, who was now growing up, became a child full of love and kindness, teaching them that the next generation has the potential to bring about greater change. Clarissa and Halim lived with the full awareness that life is a long journey, and they had chosen to walk it with confidence and love. They were no longer tied to the material world, but to faith, virtue, and love for others. Every day for them was an opportunity to give and receive affection, and to strive to create a better world. Clarissa and Halim felt that their journey was not over yet. After years of facing a life full of challenges and changes, they realized that their purpose in life was not just to find peace for themselves, but to make a greater impact on society. The foundation they established began to grow rapidly, and more people benefited from their social programs. With the help of many volunteers and donors, they expanded the reach of their foundation, which now had branches in several major cities. Their main focus was on education for underprivileged children and the empowerment of women. They established schools that provided quality education for children from poor families, as well as skills courses for housewives so they could become financially independent. Clarissa, who had once been a young wealthy woman living in luxury, now felt a much deeper sense of inner satisfaction. A spirit of wanting to do more and give more grew within her. Every day, she felt how meaningful each step they took to help others was. Halim, who always supported her, not only as a husband but also as a loyal partner, felt that this was their life's purpose. However, amidst the foundation's success, Clarissa faced a new dilemma. Most of the donors supporting their foundation came from diverse backgrounds, with some still struggling to accept the changes that had occurred in Clarissa's life. Some suggested that they not emphasize their Islamic identity too much to gain more support from various parties. Clarissa felt torn. On one hand, she wanted to keep the foundation growing, but on the other hand, she couldn't pretend to be someone she wasn't. Halim always reminded her, "We can't hide our identity just for the sake of gain. We must stay true to what we believe in and trust that God will guide us to the best path." In the end, Clarissa decided to remain steadfast in the principles they believed in. Their foundation continued to run activities in line with Islamic values, focusing on peace, compassion, and respect for others. They also made sure to always set an example in their daily lives on how to live a virtuous life. After years of hard work, Clarissa and Halim felt the growing burden, even though they continued to feel blessed by the results of their efforts. Their increasingly busy schedules caused them to sometimes feel neglected by one another. Although their relationship remained strong, sometimes the time they spent together became less. Halim felt that he couldn't let his wife work too hard, while Clarissa felt that what they were doing was very important for the future of many people. One evening, after enjoying a simple dinner together, Halim began a rather serious conversation. "Clarissa," he said softly, "I know how hard you work, and I'm so proud of you. But I'm also worried, we both need more time for ourselves. We have to take care of this relationship because I know, if we don't take care of ourselves, we won't be able to give our best to others." Clarissa listened carefully. She realized that Halim was right. They had become so focused on their work and social activities that they almost forgot how important it was to spend time with each other. After a moment of reflection, Clarissa smiled and said, "I'm worried too, Halim. Sometimes I feel like we're forgetting an important part of our lives, our relationship. Maybe we can plan more time together, just the two of us, without work and other responsibilities." They both decided to start planning vacations together, even if just for a few days, to recharge their energy and strengthen their relationship. Halim and Clarissa knew that, even though they were both fighting for a noble cause, they also needed to maintain balance in their personal lives. Although Clarissa and Halim had faced many challenges in their life journey, they eventually realized that this journey was about growth. They had not only grown in terms of charity, but also in their relationship with God, with others, and with each other. They began to accept that this journey of life was full of dynamics and changes, and that every step they took, whether easy or difficult, was part of a beautiful destiny. Their lives also began to gain attention from various circles. They were invited to speak at international forums on religious diversity and how tolerance can bring peace. They shared their story about their journey, how they managed to build bridges between differences, and how they continue to support each other despite coming from very different backgrounds. Clarissa felt proud to speak about Islam with confidence, without fear or doubt. She knew that this journey was not just about her and Halim, but also about inspiring others to find peace and happiness through their own faith. They also began to think about their son Yusuf's future. They wanted to provide him with the best education, not only academically but also in terms of life values. They wanted Yusuf to grow into a compassionate person, one who respects differences and always strives to give the best for this world. Yusuf is the greatest gift God has given us, Clarissa said one night. We will teach him that life is not just about what we have, but about what we can give to this world. Halim nodded in agreement. We will always be there for him, teaching him the right values and helping him grow into a person full of love and sincerity. Years passed, and although life's challenges continued to exist, Clarissa and Halim increasingly felt peace in their lives. They had found a balance between work, family, and their relationship, and they felt closer to God with every step they took. Their social work continued to grow, and they began to see tangible results from what they had built. The children they helped in their schools began to succeed, many women they trained became independent, and many families benefited from their activities. They felt that what they were doing was not only for this world but also for their hereafter. In the end, Clarissa and Halim knew that this journey was part of a greater destiny. They never regretted their decisions, because they knew that true peace and happiness could only be found in a sincere relationship with God and with others. They lived with gratitude, inviting others to share in the happiness and peace they had found in their lives. And at every step of their journey, they knew that love and faith would always be their guide, giving them the strength and courage to face all obstacles.